Hi there, you're listening to Geoff Hughes on the eBook revolution, Madhouse Media. That's madhousemedia.com.au. And have you ever asked yourself this question? Have you ever wondered why writing is like herding cats? Well, it is like herding cats. Think about it. Why do you want to write? The answer, I think, to myself, I want to write to express myself. I want to write to put down these thoughts, the thoughts that run around your mind like cats jumping out of a sack. Is that how you feel sometimes? I want to herd cat-like fleeting thoughts and get them down on paper so others can read and understand me. So it's like herding cats. Simple thing. So that's the why of this piece out of the way. Let's look at the how. How do you write? How do you write to herd your cats? Do you use a pen, an iPad, or like George R. Martin? He still uses an old MS-DOS machine running WordStar. Remember WordStar? My God, that gives my age away. I can still remember at uni filing up the old copy of WordStar on a great big floppy disk. But, computers and shiny things, they're great, but don't let them get in the way of your writing. And, computers really can get in the way. Are they getting in the way of your writing? We might want to blame Bill Gates for his role in making these shiny gadget things we love and the rise of the personal computer. I can still remember being mesmerised by Write. If you want to go way back in the Jurassic period of electronic writing, let's call it electronic. If you may remember, Write, it's the first clunky WYSIWYG word processor that came with Windows 3.1. Then fast forward to Microsoft Word. Bam, Write was to Word what the Model T was to transportation. It opened it all up. Suddenly, everyone could be a writer and typesetter. There's nothing wrong with that. But for real writers, software can be both a gift and a curse. What do you think of that idea? Do you struggle with the software that you use or the tools that you use for writing? I mean, I've just become a recent fan of Scrivener, but still, as powerful as it is, it can still get in the way of just writing because you start fiddling with all the little things you can fiddle with in software programs. Can be a gift and a curse. I remember when I was at university struggling with WordStar to write essays and short stories and just marvelling at the magic of it, where you could copy and paste words and delete sentences and correct your writing. And that's the trap, isn't it? Like, you start fucking around with this stuff. You start going, I'll change the font. I'll change the line spacing. You do lots of things that just pull you away from what you should be doing. And that's writing. See, with all these software tools and gadgets, we can make every word perfect at the expense of just herding cats and getting them out of your head before they're lost. Now, how many times have you stopped your writing flow to change fonts, spelling, correct your grammar? Now, you need to do these things, but they've all got their place, really. If you always write on a computer, just try this little exercise. Grab a pad and a pen, set a timer for 30 minutes and just free write. Don't stop. Don't correct your rubbish grammar. And just, when the timer goes off, step back and look at the cats that you've herded. The ideas you've captured. The ideas of the cats. Okay? And I reckon you wouldn't have written as much on a device because most of us can't resist the call of self-correction. You've got to just push that away. Some of the best writing of the 20th century was done on a typewriter. Now consider this. One of my favourite Australian writers, Bob Ellis. If you haven't heard of him, I highly recommend you check out his blog, ellistabletalk.com. But he often asks a great rhetorical question. Can you name the great word process novels? Well, he's got a point. And I've got to agree with him. You see, writing with a typewriter can really focus your mind and make you think clearly about what it is you want to say when you're writing. Think about that. The old way of writing. It's much harder to correct a page of type. So care is taken on what you're committing to paper. And when care is taken, more thought is given to exactly what it is you're trying to say. And don't you just love that tap, 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 tap of a typewriter keyboard? It's a wonderful meditation. It's a counterpoint to thoughts of herding cats. I don't know if you've used a typewriter, but I still occasionally use one, and it's just a wonderful meditative way of writing. You know, the end of each sentence, once you got there, it was a special kind of revelation. The point being, I suppose, that you've wrestled the thoughts in your head, you've wrestled the cats, you've herded the cats, and to see them rendered in a courier font on a piece of paper in front of you, wow, it's a special kind of magic. Now, I'm not a Luddite. I love technology. I'm an Apple geek. I've got my iMac, I've got my iPad, I've got Evernote and Scriven, I've got all of it. But I write longhand to get my ideas down. All my blog posts, I write them in longhand first. Stories I'm working on, I write them in longhand first, because I don't think you can beat pen and paper just for getting ideas down and getting on with it. Leave the computer and the technology to tidy up your mess. But if you want to herd your cats like I herd my cats, don't get hung up on the technology of writing. Okay? Don't get hung up on the technology of writing. Because you can write anywhere with a pencil and a bit of paper. Think about it. You know, the fundamental thing about writing hasn't changed. We write to herd the cats. We write to herd the cats to get the thoughts and ideas out of our head and into the world. Don't make the mistake of letting technology dictate whether you are a writer or not, because that's just so much bullshit, right? A writer just commits her thoughts to paper publicly and doesn't worry about the consequence. A writer commits to the act of writing, okay? A writer doesn't need a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air or whatever the thing is you're lusting after this week. A writer will write whatever the medium. You know, Harry Potter was written by J.K. Rowling in notepads in a cafe. That is a fact. She didn't write it on a gleaming, shiny MacBook Pro. She wrote it with a pen and paper. So if you're putting off being a writer because you don't have the latest technology, or you feel if only you had Scriven or some other splendid piece of writing software so you can call yourself a real writer, well, wake up. You're deluding yourself. If you want to write, understand this. The technology doesn't make you a writer, okay? It's the simple act of writing that makes you a writer. Have you got that? The technology doesn't make you a writer. The act of writing makes you a writer. Are you writing? are you writing every day? Go down to your local stationery supplier, just buy a stack of yellow legal pads and a nice pen and crack on with it. So what are you waiting for? Forget about the technology. Let's get some yellow legal pads and an old biro. It's all good. You don't need the latest laptop or the latest operating system to start herding your cats and becoming a writer. Okay? What you need, more than tech, are ideas. What you need is a strong voice. Because readers react to strength and courage. The technology shouldn't stop you. I'll say that again. The technology should not stop you. So what are you doing this weekend? Okay, are you going to start writing with passion? Are you going to herd those cats no matter how imperfect your tools? Are you going to go down to the mall to have a look at the new computer that you're pretty sure once you own it, it's going to magically make you a writer? Well, let me prick that bubble again. The new Apple MacBook Air won't make you a writer. Okay? Sure, they're fun, but grab a pencil and grab some paper and start writing. And then you are a writer. Just remember this. William Shakespeare didn't have an Apple MacBook Pro, and he did okay, didn't he? And so will you. Go and herd some splendid cats. Get your thoughts together. Start writing. Don't worry about the technology. That's it for me. Geoff Hughes from MadhouseMEDIA. You've been listening to the eBook Revolution podcast. And you can look at the podcast notes at www.madhousemedia.com.au. And you can also hear us on Stitcher. Listen anytime, anywhere. And I'd appreciate it if you went over to Stitcher and rated and reviewed the show. Stitcher's an award-winning free app, and it lets you listen to all your favourite shows. Plus, you can discover from 20,000 news, entertainment, and sport shows. There's no downloading, no syncing, no wasted memory. Don't have Stitcher? You can get it free today at Stitcher.com or in the App Store. And, of course, you can also get this podcast on iTunes. That's it for me, Geoff Hughes from the eBook Revolution. Go and herd some cats. See ya.